Public engagement isn't very engaging. It's a huge part of development, and it's broken. It isn't run well, and it isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. A lot of the time, town planning meetings and things like this are full of loud, angry people screaming at each other and not listening to anybody else's opinions. They just want to say what they think, and they're not really willing to be open-minded about the situation. Or the way that people are trying to engage with the public isn't done very well. So they'll sort of send out leaflets or flyers and say, what do you think of this development on a scale of 1 to 10? Or they'll ask people, once the development has been decided, what it is that they would like to have done. And this just isn't a good way to work. And I think that, as well, they preach to the converted. So a lot of the time, the people that they do get coming along to these things already have set opinions, and they're already engaged in it. I don't have a solution to this, but there is a specific area within this that we're trying to tackle, and that's kids. Kids aren't included in these discussions, or they very rarely are, and they should be. They should be asked what they think and what they want, and sometimes developments will put in a slide or a skate park and be like, well, that's what kids want, because they're kids. How do you know if you're not asking them? How do you know if you're not including them? I think kids are underestimated a lot of the time, and it's sort of like they're not mature enough, or they don't know enough about the environment. The adults do, but the kids don't, and they'll like whatever's there. But these are the people that have to live with it the longest. They're the people that have to live in this community for the most amount of time. And I think that by not asking them, you're ignoring a big part of the community. How can you have community engagement when you're not including everybody in it? Another part of this is technology. So kids who are being born, who were born in 2006 haven't lived in a world without an iPhone, and 3D printing is going to be the norm for them. If you aren't engaging well with kids, or if you think that it's difficult to get through to the youth, then maybe this is how you should be doing it, with digital technology. This is being used quite a lot in education now and within the school syllabus, and there are a lot of great teachers and a lot of great schools that are trying to push this kind of stuff forwards. And they've realized that if you engage kids in something using what they're good at, they will actively learn rather than passively sitting there and just taking in information and not really retaining it. And it's great that it's being used within education, but it shouldn't stop there, and it shouldn't just be used at home for recreation either. There are other ways that it can be used. So this is what we do. This is what Joe and I do. We run a thing called BlockBuilders, and we use digital technology to engage kids in their community and in their environment. We started in September. We graduated a year ago from university, and it was part of Joe's final year project. And we really enjoyed doing it, and we realized that this is what we want to do afterwards, and that this actually works quite well. And so we started it full-time. We started running workshops, and the main tool that we used is Minecraft. So Minecraft is sort of like digital Lego, and you can build blocks within the game and make buildings and all that kind of thing. And we realized that this was something that kids love. It's like, if you haven't heard of Minecraft, I would be a little bit surprised. It's everywhere. It's a hugely popular game. And so this is the best thing that we thought we could use for what we want to do. So for our workshops, kids come along, and we'll normally get an expert, or if there isn't one, Joe and I will speak about the development and about what's going to happen. And the kids will listen to what they have to say, and then the kids will sit down and talk about it, and talk about the issues with it, and say what they like and what they dislike. Because kids are much better at deliberation than adults. Kids will sit and talk, and they are brutally honest about stuff, which can be great. But they're also really open-minded. So where you'll get adults who won't listen, or they don't want to change their minds. When someone else gives them another opinion, they don't want to hear it all the time. If kids like what someone else is saying, they'll say, oh, yeah, maybe you're right, and they'll listen. So this is what we have at the beginning of our workshops. The kids will sit down and they'll talk about the issues and the ideas and what they like and what they dislike about the area. And then they go on to the game. And they sit down and they build in Minecraft together. So we have kids collaboratively building and recreating their communities. And a lot of adults say to us, oh, I guess you must get like a lot of roller coasters and all this kind of stuff. And yes, sometimes we do, but we get some really amazing designs as well, and sort of solar energy and green energy, solar panels on everything. They're everywhere, on everything that the kids build. And we do get some fascinating designs from them. So they do this process, they sit down and they build together and they talk about it. And it's great to watch them work together because they'll get a set space that Joe and I will build beforehand for whichever redevelopment it is. And they have to build in this space. So they have to talk to each other about where everything's going to go and how it will work. And they have to do that as a group. And then, when they've finished, we take their designs and we get them 3D printed. And we get little architectural full-color models that adults can understand, and they can pick it up, and it's something that exists. And they can be like, oh, so this is Minecraft. This is what they've done. Okay, I understand this. This is cool. And then, and then we hold exhibitions. So we showcase what the kids have done. And we'll invite along members of the community and MPs and councillors and all that kind of thing. And back in January, we had an exhibition. And so we are from Brighton, and we do a lot of work in Brighton. And we are the only place in the country that has a Green MP, Caroline Lucas. And she came and did a speech, and it was great, and everybody was listening to what she had to say. And then 6-year-old Stanley followed her. And he stood there and blew her away and did this amazing speech in front of all of these people and did a little dance at the end, and he was so confident, and he just didn't care that there were all these people stood there watching him talk. This gives kids confidence to stand there and do this kind of stuff because they love it and they're really good at it. They are experts in this world, in this digital world. So if you say to them, I want you to go and stand up in front of all these people and talk about, I don't know, a book or something like that, or something that they're not actively engaged in. They might be a little bit nervous, they might not want to do it. We've never had that problem, asking kids to speak in front of people about Minecraft and about what they've built in Minecraft. And in fact, it's really difficult to get them to stop talking about what they've built in Minecraft. And I think this is fascinating, and this is the way that it should be used. But I said at the beginning that people don't include kids in it. So it's not really fair of us to say, oh, we're not going to include anyone else. We've started to include adults in this process as well. So a few weeks ago, we did a big project for Brighton Council, and we asked adults to come along and slightly older residents to join the kids. And it was really interesting because the adults weren't screaming, they weren't shouting, they weren't swearing, they weren't getting angry at each other, and they started to listen to each other because the kids were doing it. And it's sort of, I think it would be an interesting thing to do in the middle of a town planning meeting, to have adults who are disagreeing with each other and then bring in a group of kids who are working perfectly well together. They're loud and they're noisy, but it's in a really positive way, and it works really well. And we had one woman who said something really interesting. She said there needs to be more of this. It shouldn't be us versus them, and it shouldn't be all the stigmas that surround different age groups. It shouldn't be older people thinking that kids are just going to make a mess and they're going to be loud. And it shouldn't be young people thinking that older people are boring. It shouldn't be this way. It should be with people working together. That's how you bring a community together. You get people to talk and listen, and it works really well having kids there. And Minecraft is a tool that everybody can use, and it's simple. You can play it regardless of your background or your age or your gender and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of people that can't draw well, can't write well, can't speak well. This sort of takes away all of that, and it gives everybody this level playing field where you have blocks, and you have a character, and you have a mouse. And you just have to press these buttons, and you can build something really cool. We all have a certain amount of influence. If you're just a person, an individual, you may be able to influence yourself, your friends, your family, a little bit of your community. It's harder to influence the town, the city, the country, the world. If you start working together, and if you start talking to each other and have a cohesive community that is collaborating on ideas, this can widen the influence. You can influence more things. So this is what we do. It's something quite small, and we get to give kids a little bit of confidence, and we get to try and involve them in their community, and we think this is really valuable, even if it's just a couple of kids that build something and then they love that. And then it gets built, it gets made, and that makes them really happy, and that makes them feel included. So as they grow up, they want to be included, and they want to be a part of the community. That's great. But it's just a small little project that Joe and I do that we love, and that's our influence. So what will yours be? Thank you.